All right, what's the deal with the ADA, the American Diabetes Association? Before that, took the dogs to the vet yesterday. We've got to go out of the country, so they needed a basically recent vet exam to be allowed to cross into the Canadian border, apparently. And my dogs, Sasha on the top and Maxie on the bottom, 12 and 8 years of age, the vet examined them and she said, it's rare I see dogs that are in such good health at their ages. And Sasha's a golden, and Maximus is something called a Coton de Toulier. And what do I feed my dogs? I just feed them meat. So, I mean, this is another indication that, eating this processed garbage affects dogs just as badly as it affects humans. Later today, I'll be interviewing former UFC star, actress, wrestler, Olympic champion Ronda Rousey and her husband Travis Brown to talk about what she's up to these days. But let's talk about the American Diabetes Association. The American Diabetes Association is an organization that is supposed to be there to, I guess, assist diabetics. And they have a slogan that says "Connected for Life." And this is one of their recipes, this pancake puff, whatever, fruity pancake puff or something like that, which I think most diabetics would find, given the ingredients in there, a significant rise in their blood glucose. And again, we know that significantly rising blood glucose in the diabetics is not particularly good. And the ingredients, I'll let you decide whether you would eat that or not. I certainly wouldn't eat it, and I wouldn't feed it to my dogs, to be honest. But this is what we're seeing. We see an organization which is obviously conflicted. They have funding sources from drug companies, from food companies, and their recommendations seem to match their funders' interest, in my view, and it doesn't necessarily match the interest of the diabetics who they're supposed to represent. It's pretty clear that diabetics do very well reducing their carbohydrate content. I mean, there's study after study that has shown that. Certainly, in my experience, a carnivore diet has been extremely effective with diabetics in many, many regards. Now, the criticism is always that, this is one of the criticisms, that higher fat will lead to insulin resistance due to fat interfering with the insulin receptors, right? And there is truth in that in some way, in that circulating fat in the bloodstream, particularly in the forms of palmitic acid, can do that. And palmitic acid is a saturated fat. However, again, this is the big important point here. Where does that saturated fat in the blood come from? It doesn't necessarily come from dietary fat. That's stuff Jeff Volek and others have shown in a number of studies, that dietary fat doesn't translate into blood saturated fat, right? And so where it comes from is from the liver producing it. And why would the liver produce that? Well, typically in response to often just excessive amounts of food, whether it be fat, whether it be carbohydrates. That's what's driving it. So inherently, and again, this is a point of a carnivore diet. If a carnivore diet is making you lose weight, right, despite the high fat content that many people will consume, if a carnivore diet is reducing liver fat, which has been shown, well, at least anecdotally in many people now, then you're not seeing this insulin resistance. In fact, what I've seen, again, this is my clinical experience, is that people with diabetes going on a carnivore diet, whether they're type 1 or type 2, they almost always see a reduction in their A1C. But they also see a reduction and a reversal in many cases of chronic kidney disease, of retinopathy in the eyes, of peripheral neuropathy. All these things are getting better. So these are things we really care about when we're talking about diabetes. The blood sugar is a marker, it's kind of a marker of control, and it has a direct impact on these things. But what we care about is what's happening to our organs, what's happening to our vessels. And this is where when we're testing that, we're seeing that also is getting better. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think. American Diabetes Association. Any of you guys who are diabetics out there following the ADA, how did it go for you? If any of you guys have been diabetic and have not followed the ADA and done something else, maybe a carnivore diet, maybe a low carb diet, maybe a ketogenic diet, how did it go for you? And let's just see what the results show. We'll talk to you guys later. You guys have a great day. Like I said, I'm pretty excited interviewing Ronda Rousey, and that will be on my other channel. So I have the Dr. Sean Baker podcast channel, if you guys aren't aware. So I have 2 YouTube channels. So we'll have that one up there. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.